Oh, thank you for telling me. Right.
Hi, Fiona.
Hi, Helen.
So do you want me to do the talking this evening? I'm happy to.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you want me?
Okay. Shall I let everybody in?
I didn't dial in. I didn't host in. I just logged in as a, a Joe Blogs viewer.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Right. I shall. It's 7 o'clock, Sean, so I'll let everybody in, and I'll just keep letting them in as they turn up.
Okay. Right. I better get my smoker, haven't I? Yeah, spent ages getting it to light. All right. Okay.
Okay. So, how many people? I mean, I don't need my video really. Okay, so welcome everybody to the third of these demonstrations from Sean's apiary. We've started recording the event, so you'll be able to revisit it at a later date if you want to see it again. As ever, if you can keep your microphones on mute and your videos turned off, so to help the bandwidth for the number of people on the call. Sean's just disappeared, but we can hand over to Sean to take us through this month's demonstration. So Sean, over to you. I just want to say, if you do have questions, if you put them in the chat room, then I'll feed them into Sean at appropriate points as we go through. Okay, so thanks, Sean.
All right, thank you very much, Helen. Okay, I was talking to Ruth, my wife, yesterday, and I said, my bees are in a complex state. And she responded back, I think everyone's bees are in a complex state just now. And I think as we go through the evening, we'll maybe discover some of the things that the complex state they're in. So I've got quite a few things to try and cover this evening, but I thought I would carry on where I left off last month. So I don't know if anyone remembers 4 weeks ago, or about 4 weeks ago, the hive I'm standing at 4 weeks ago, we left. It was the one which had brood, only about 6 frames of brood, and they hadn't drawn the 5 frames behind. And what I did was I put a fat dummy in the bottom, the back of here, put the frames that hadn't been drawn up here, and another fat dummy. And we had 2 supers on. I believe it's 2 supers. It might only have been 1 super at that stage. And I would want to just show you what's happened, because this colony has been through a lot since then. It's currently on 2 full brood boxes, or as a double brood box. It has raised, as a Ben Harden, it has raised 10 queen cells. Those 10 queen cells have been distributed, and I'm going to go in, and now it wants to swarm. So well, last time I looked, it wants to swarm. So that is like full cycle for a colony, from not wanting to do anything to getting onto a double brood. So we're going to go have a quick look, and I'm going to set it up because I want to do some more grafting tomorrow, and a colony which is in a swarmy state or wants to swarm is a great one for raising queen cells. So let me just find another roof from somewhere. So classic thing when you go into double brood box, you need 2 roofs. So on the right hand, the way I do it is on the right hand side, Only foolhardy, I think. Yes, it is. I'll do it on one soup at a time. Always twist. Yeah, there we go.
Lift those out.
There we go. I was wondering if you could mute your microphone. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Mute your microphone.
So that's the supers off. So you can see in here, the colony is thriving and is putting comb on up here. So it still thinks it's out of space. So we're just going to go in and have a look. So if you remember when we left this on the 3rd Wednesday of May, this was just 6 frames with nothing drawn on it and a fat dummy. We've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frames of bees, and they're drawing the front frame and the penultimate. And one of the problems I'm having just now is that I'm running out of equipment. So what I'm doing is I'm using a frame of foundation as my dummy, my back dummy. So if John has a quick look down this gap here, I don't know if you can see that they are festooning. No, the next one in, that's it. They are festooning on the back 2 frames. You can see them joined up, and that means they're trying to draw the comb on the outside frame. So this has gone berserk, this colony, which is great. They're very, very calm. If you to tell if a colony is calm, you just put your hand over the bees and you just circle around, and if nothing comes up, you know that the colony is in a good state and it's nice and calm. So I'm quite happy with these bees. So what I'm going to do is just have a quick look at what's going in this top box. And I've got the second roof there, just in case I have to take the top box off. But when you're inspecting a double brood box, you don't always have to go down into the bottom brood. So you can see they're drawing this comb. They're quite happy, calm, a few drones on there. She's not got to lay out there. I only put these out 2 frames on about 3 days ago. And there they are. And the queen, she's up here on the top. Beautiful queen. She's clipped, marked blue, so last year's queen, and she's laid up in all her space on this frame. I don't know if John can see, but in the cells, they're all full of eggs. Coming down, there you go. Further down. Just down here. Normally what you can do is when you see the queen, you can pick her up and put her into a butler cage just to keep her safe. But I'm not going to really be doing anything aggressive on this colony today, so I'm just going to have a look. So she is a beautiful queen. She's fat. One of the things is when they're trying to swarm, you can see she's dragging her abdomen across the comb. So she's still at full size. If they're going to swarm, what they do is several days before swarming, they will start to starve her, reduce her food. And then for what she's then what happens is she can fly. Well, she can't fly. So you can see I clip my queens. And one of the I'll talk about a couple of the strategies I've got for swarm control in my colonies. But normally what happens is when a queen with a clipped wing goes out, she goes out with the swarm, she falls on the ground and she climbs up and she waits for you to go and pick her up again on the underside of the mesh floor. But all my queens have been clipped this year, have walked off somewhere. So I've lost a couple of 3 quick colonies. And the next colony we're going to look into is one of those where I haven't lost any bees. I've just lost the queen. She's gone for a walk. So we're going to just requeen that colony. So that's that frame. what I'm looking for. So I'm quite happy. I can see eggs. I've seen the queen. I don't really have to look at any more, but I just want, last time I looked in here, they were beginning to form. There you are. You can see we've got queen cups. So on the double brood box, they always, or never say always with bees, form the queen cells along the bottom of the top brood frame, because there's a gap between the two brood boxes, because there's a bee space between top brood box and second brood box, and they use that for forming their queen cells. So if you're trying to look to see if your colony, I'm just having a look in, they're all dry. Last time I looked, before I added some more comb, they were wet, and they had eggs or young larvae in them. So I just squashed them down and gave some more space. So in a double brood box, you don't really, if you're worrying about swarming, all you have to do is look in the top brood box and look along the bottom bar, sorry. So here we are. This is just sealed brood. Now, what this now frame tells me, this tells me a bit more. So if you look, remember the first frame, she'd filled in every cell with an egg. But here we've got, where rather than filling in and laying eggs in the empty cells, what they're doing is they're filling it with honey. So when you start to see honey in the brood frame, in the empty cells in the brood frame, that tells you that you need to be supering up. That means that they don't believe you've got enough space for storing honey, and they're starting to store it in the brood space. So it doesn't matter if they're storing honey on the outer frames of a brood box, but when they're starting to put the honey into the empty cells where you expect the queen to be laying, then there's space issues. And what the two things that drive a colony to swarm is, the first one is space for the queen to lay, and the second one is space for them to put their stores. So what this is telling me is this colony, from being 6 frames of brood back in May, 3rd Wednesday in May, is 2 supers, 2 brood boxes, and is running out of space. Look, you can see honey again on the. So most probably what I've done is I've temporarily halted them for wanting to have any swarming urge. But if I don't do anything and I don't super up or take some honey off, then we're going to be in a state where they're going to want to try and move on. So we'll just quickly move on. I just want to check a couple more frames. So when you smoking, we know the queen's in the back here, but if you hadn't found the queen and you're going through a brood box, if you smoke like this across the frame, you're driving the bees away from the smoke. You're also driving the queen away from the smoke. So when you're smoking, and unless you're having to keep the bees down off the top and they're getting a bit boisterous, just smoke down the frame lugs. That's all you do. That means the center is kept smoke free and the bees are unlikely to move, and you're more likely to be able to find the queen. So just there we go again. So you've got a queen cup. We know we've got a queen and everything. We just have a quick look inside. And I don't know if you can see, is there anything in there? Is there an egg in? No. This one looks more interesting. It's more advanced. Anything in there? No. So looks like I've bought a temporary reprieve, and then we've got more on the other side. This shows you the state it was in last time. That they were getting ready, but these are all dry, so I'm quite happy that they've stopped their urge for a while. But if I don't manage this colony, they're going to want to swarm. The rain tomorrow might help us, because they might have to stay indoors and eat some of their food. And again, look, there's a frame, quite a good classic frame. She's got eggs. She's laid up fully on the eggs on the space. Got honey on the outside and a bit of pollen in there on the in some of the cells, ready to feed the brood. Really good. The other good thing is, so if you've got 14 by 12, you got commercial, you got double brew box. You can see up here, the honey goes right across the top of the frame. So what you've got is that is the break. That's where the brood stops, and you've got honey. So what it means in the super, I don't know, if you've got a single brew box or a national, you'll always find in the super, you've got a hollow area. And that's because they're trying to get the brood nest going up. But when you've got large frames and a large space in the brood nest, you always have a band of honey at the top, and therefore you have the supers are filled completely, and you don't have to worry too much about when you're supering. I just want to have a look at one more frame. And they're getting a bit bored with me. They've part drawn this, so they'll carry on drawing. So what's going to happen? The first thing that's going to happen to this colony tomorrow is I'm going to do some more grafting. So I want to produce some more queen cells, and I'm going to use this colony for doing the producing the queen cells. Because it is a nice calm colony and it's good. So this is my grafting frame, and it's basically an SM1, which is a standard national super frame with a piece of wood filling in the whole frame. And on the bottom, I have queen cups. And what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to graft and put a larvae, a very young larvae, hopefully a one-day-old larvae in each one of these. And if this colony is in a good state, and I've set it up correctly, then I should get, and I'm not boasting, but I've had 10 out of 13 for the last 3 bars I've done. So hopefully I'll get another 10 queen cells, which I can then distribute and perform. But what you've got to do is this bar is you've got to let them familiarize. So what you do is you put the bar into the brood nest. I'm going to just put it on the outside here, and I'm just going to leave a couple of bits of space. And what they'll do is they will go in and they will clean it up, and they will give it its own smells. So this bar will take on the smells of the colony. And when I come to put graft tomorrow, and in fact I'm going to graft off this colony because I think they're a quite nice colony. They're obviously, once they get going, and now we know how to get them going, they're fine. They've got nice honey production, good calm bees, good lay area. So if I could make queen cells off this and then distribute and raise some queens, that would be great. So I'm just going to put this back. We've accumulated a little bunch of bees on here on the queen excluder.
There's
So
a question come in, Sean, about why do the bees raise queens from your grafts if they have a queen in the colony? Okay,
I'll explain very shortly how I'm going to set the colony up. But what I do is I don't bang my queen excluder on the way into the hive. I always bang it on the way out because I don't want to cause commotion above the hive. So I'm just going to do that. So what I'm going to do is when I, as well as doing my grafts, I'm going to rearrange this box. I'm going to put the queen downstairs in the bottom box, and she's going to have enough space to be able to lay for a week or a couple of weeks in there. So I'm going to give her enough space for her to lay, and the queen's going to be down here. I'm going to put a queen excluder between the 2 boxes. In this top box, I'm going to have the first frame is a frame of stores, second frame is a frame of pollen, my grafting bar with my grafts, 1 frame of open brood, and then the rest of sealed brood or stores or just fillers. And what happens is, because the queen pheromone can't get up into here, because queen pheromone or queen substance is made up of 3 things. It's made up of the pheromone from her mandibular gland, her jaw gland, her tergite gland, which is on her back, and her foot pheromone. So she's not up here, and they're lacking her pheromone. So what they do is they take on a supersedure role, and they've got queen cups which look like swarm cells or cells, and they've got larvae in them of the right age, and they'll nurture them as queen cells. So the colony will carry on, and it'll operate just as normal. I put a queen excluder above this box, put the 2 supers on, and then they'll just keep on carrying on and collecting honey and storing it. So basically, the queen is kept downstairs. She's excluded by the queen excluder. The bees up here have a nature for supersedure, so they'll raise the cells on the cell bar, and it works. I'm not going to tidy up this wax just now because we've got quite a lot of beekeeping to do. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to close this up. See, I've got, if you look on here, this is a classic. I've got 10 frames on, 11 frames in here, and bees on every frame. So if you have bees on every frame in a super, and you have that on every super you've got, it doesn't matter if they filled the frames, if they've got honey in them or not, you need to add another super. And we could tell that when we were looking at the brood nest. And then if I look into one of the frames, it's getting pretty much capped. And have a look into the center, the frames is getting to a cap stage and ready for extraction. And what I do is I still got big enough stacks with double brood box, but I don't like having too big a stack. So what I like to do is I like to collect my honey throughout the season. So this weekend, we're going to start our first extraction, and all the top supers on all the boxes here are pretty much full. So we're going to take the top super of each one, extract it, put the super back on, and that will give space for them to stores, and hopefully they'll take the honey, which they're starting to put into the brood cells, and put it upstairs. There we go. Nice and quiet. They were really nice. Oh, very, very nice. So, has anyone got any questions about what I've done there, or anything concerning what's happening with this colony before we move on to the next task?
No questions at the moment, Sean.
Okay. All right. So let's have a look at this stack. let me explain it. Well, most people will be able to recognize this because it's a demery. It's got a brood box down the bottom. It's got a queen excluder. It's got 3 supers on it. Another queen excluder. It's got an eek and a brood box on the top. This is one of my colonies where the queen went for a walk and didn't go where she was meant to go, which is under the floor. So what I've done, I did was I still did a demery on it, and I've collected all the queen cells that were in this colony, and I've put them upstairs. They're in this top box.
Sean, there's a couple of questions come through about the storing of the honey. So if your bees don't start storing honey upstairs, then how would you deal with that? So if they don't start filling supers?
I'd reduce the, if I'm on a double brood box, I reduce down to single brood box. I'd compress the bees down.
Okay, so if you're on a single brood box, put some, maybe dummy it down a bit.
Yeah, well, yes, because what you want them to do is, if they're storing it in the brood box and they're not storing it upstairs, just force them to do it. Just make them, give them no choice but to put it upstairs. In the same way as last month, we forced them to go upstairs to draw the comb and find more space in the brood nest. Okay. But normally, at this time of year in the national, they should be going up. They should be putting it up there.
Right. And if they have started to fill in the gaps in the brood frames with honey, will they move it out into the supers when the super is provided?
Yes. Yes, yeah, and that's why I think I talked about it a couple of months ago. When I make up my supers, I make them up with drawn comb, alternate between drawn comb, drawn comb, fresh foundation, drawn comb, and so that makes it easier for them to find a space to put it, because they can put it straight into the drawn comb, and once they start putting it into drawn comb, they want more space. They then go away and they draw the foundation in between, and that works that way. What was the other question?
There's one about if you're extracting continuously, so that you have to wash all the equipment and sieves, or can you cover it up in between rather than washing it all out?
I wash it all out. So what we do is I have two. This apiary and another out apiary are my two honey production apiaries. And Saturday we'll do this apiary. We'll cover it up on Saturday night, and Sunday we'll do the other apiary, and then we'll wash it all. We clean it because at this time of year you're going to get bugs finding the honey or whatever you got living there. So that's my theory anyway. So basically, we do it all in the weekend, and we do it separate apiaries, because what we do is we mark the boxes by the apiary source, or the honey buckets by the apiary source. Some people, what they do is, if they're making soft set honey, they do leave a little bit of soft set in their extractor, and they cover up, and then that you have to make sure it is insect tight if you're doing that. But I've never done that. I always clean up afterwards, and I find, so what we'll do 7, 8, maybe 9 supers on Saturday here. That's enough for one session. And when you've got 15 supers doing a session, that's like it's horrendous. So I like that side of number is quite enough, and you feel you justify on washing down. If you're only doing one super, getting everything ready and then washing down, it is a bit of a different bind. But maybe I'm a different scale. So if I only had two colonies, I maybe wait until I got 4 supers off the 2 colonies before I moved on, and maybe put more supers on. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Okay, so moving back to this one. So what we've got is the queen went for a walk. She didn't come back. They started making queen cells, and the reason. So what I did was, first of all, did the demery, as was what you do if you just don't know what to do. Do a demery, split the colony. And so the majority of queen cells are up here, and I deliberately left 2 open queen cells down here, just to keep the colony happy. But I knew I was going to requeen, so I wasn't too worried. And then earlier on today, what I did was I went in and I found 3 frames with queen cells, sealed queen cells on down in the bottom box. I've moved them to the top box. So this one is hopelessly queenless. But if you look at the colony, they seem to be quite active, and they're going in and out just as normal, because they can smell the queen cells. They know there's queen cells in this box, in this stack. So they're quite happy, and they're producing honey. And they will continue to, as long as they feel that they've got a queen coming along, they will continue to collect honey, forage, and work as normal. When you tear down all your queen cells, or you put it into a state where they are desperate, then they might go a bit more lethargic and not do anything. But just now, they can't help but get honey in. So what I'm going to do is, so this is one of my strategies. One of my strategies for swarm control is to assume that you're going to lose queens. So early in the season, normally in May, middle of May, when I'm doing my swarm control, I will do a split. And this colony here, down to the bottom here, is a split from a queen I loved last year. She did very well last year and produced lots of honey for me. Very calm, pleasure to go and work with. So I did the split in May, and she's now a laying queen in this box. And what I do is I have these colonies in each one of my apiaries. I've got another one which is a staging apiary, where I have done splits, and I just raise queens to new queens, and then if I get into a stage where the queen's walked and nothing, I can come in and I can unite the colony. So I would encourage people always to at least make one split at the beginning of the year, just to give them insurance for losing a queen later on in the year. So I haven't smoked this colony. They seem so calm. I just wasn't going to think about it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a split. Now, I'm going to take all these queen cells and I'm going to put them all into nukes. We're going to go into a place where we can work. So if I put this roof across here, and we're going to do it. So the reason I've got an econ here is, if you think about it, when you've got a queen cell and the queen cell is hanging off the bottom bar, and they can hang off the bottom bar, and actually, if you've got a double brew box like this was, it can hang off the bottom bar and go in between the bars and the bottom, into the bottom box. So you've got something that's hanging down below the line of the brew box. So I put an econ so as not to crush those queen cells which are on the bottom bars of this brood box, and the frames in this brood box. Always be careful when you're lifting brood boxes. I'm coming through. There we go. Coming up. Okay. All right. So what I've got here is I've got 3 nuke boxes, and I've had long debates with myself this afternoon, as whether I want to be greedy or I don't want to be greedy. And I've decided to be greedy. So I'm going to try and make 3 nukes out of this box. I'm going to make a 5-frame nuke on the solid floor. This is my very original first nuke box I ever bought. People talk about nuke boxes being expensive. It was the same price as you can buy one now. I'm going to make a 6-frame nuke, but with only 3 frames in here from the brew box, and I'm going to make a 3-frame nuke with a fat dummy. So let's find my other tool. Where else have I put it? Oh, in my pocket. And let's just work our way through what we're doing here. What I've done is I've stuffed the entrance of each nuke box with grass, because it's going to be in the same apiary. This just keeps the bees inside. So that's just a frame of stores. There's going to be a bit of juggling around to work out what it is. So I'm going to put that one in the 5-framer. Another frame of stores, I'm going to put that one in the 6-framer. In the 6-framer, well, I've got 2 foundations and 1 frame of drawn comb already. There we go. Now, here's the queen cell down the bottom. We've got it here. Now you can see the bees are all over that queen cell. And that means it's a good, they think it's a good queen cell and there's a good queen in there. I am not going to tear down any queen cells today. That looks like an emerged one. So we might be a wee bit late. We'll just see in a second. We're going to put this one across here. There you go. We've got another queen cell in here. And the bees are all over it. So I'm going to, now I'm looking at how much brood I've got. I think I'm going to put this one in here just now. And I've got 4 more queen cells on this side, right along the bottom bar. So this one is going to be my queen cell bar for this one here. this one here has got one queen cell on it, on this side, with a bunch of drone brood. And there's one, two, there's a nice one on the side there. So, and that's got bees on it as well. So I'm going to put this one as my queen cells in this height, this frame across here. This one's a bit dirty, not much brood on it. You can see they're putting stores into the brood nest again. So I'm going to put this one, and it's got a nice queen cell on the back side. And I've only had one queen cell in the other frame. So I'm going to put this one in with a fine frame. Oh, this is a really nice wall-to-wall brood. It's a nice brood frame. I think I'm going to put that how much brood did I have on this one? I had very little. So I'm going to put it in here. So how many more frames have I got? 3 more frames. So that's stores and some brood and some more queen cells. Some very nice queen cells. All of them are in a good state. So we're all quite happy. I was in a colony yesterday and I saw a virgin queen running around and she was all over. It was the one at the end there, which is raising queen cells. I'm going to put this one in here. So that's me made up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's my 6 frame nuke. How many more frames have I got here? Oh, I'm short of a frame or 2. All right, that's got a lot of bees on it. No. There we go. I'll put that one there. And this one's got a nice frame of stores. So that's going to go into this one across here. There we go. So that's my 3 frame nuke. The entrance is down there. That's on the right side. It's got lots of brood. I'm happy with the number of bees I've got on there. So I'm just going to lock that one up and go for it. This one here, I've ended up with, I don't know how I've done it. Let me just count how many frames I've done. 1, 2, 3. All right. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I can't count. So I'm just going to put a frame of drawn comb on it. Give them some more bees. There. Close that one up. So all of them have got a decent amount of brood to emerge. So we want lots of young bees to look after our queen cells. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a bit lighter on bees, but that should be fine. You don't need many bees for them to raise a queen cell. It's fine. I'm just having a look. There's no bees on here. Nice drone. and another drone's going down into our supers. So I'm going to leave those nuke boxes now. And at the end of today, I'm going to move them out into, I've got my mating apiary, which is down at the other end of the garden. I'm going to put them on there and then take it from there. So does anyone have any questions about what I've just done about doing a split? Any questions?
Nothing come through just yet. So
Okay.
is that bottom box you said was hopelessly queenless?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
presume.
So its bottom box is hopefully a queenless because I'm now going to unite it with the split I did in the other apiary. I brought that in this morning from another apiary to be united with this box. This is not what you'd normally do. Normally, if you're doing a demery, you would, if you still had the queen, you'd have the queen of fresh foundation on the bottom box with maybe one frame of brood and maybe another frame of drawn comb, or all drawn comb if possible. Yeah, so you'd have, and then you'd have your queen cells at the top, just like that. But because I didn't have a queen, and I don't want to have a big gap in my brood cycle, I've brought this other colony in, and she's a new queen from this year, and I'm going to unite her with this colony. So the spare bees, which have been around, are still going into this into the hive. So what I'm going to do?
Yeah, I've got a question about the nukes, Sean. As to why is it okay to have so many queen cells in each nuke when you usually just leave one or two?
Aha, that's the secret. I should have mentioned that. Thank you for asking. When you reduce the number of bees that you've got in a colony or in a box, then they're unlikely to cast or swarm. So what a split does is it reduces the number of bees. So if you think about it, we only had about 2 frames of brood, maybe 3 frames at maximum in each one of those boxes. So the colony is not going to swarm. And if you have lots of queen cells, so you don't worry about tearing down the queen cells, and because they're sealed queen cells, we don't know what's inside them. They know what's inside them, and they will choose the best queen. So the best queen will come out of what's in there, and they'll do it. So a split is fantastic because you don't have to make any decisions. You just split the colony down, split all the queen cells amongst the nuke boxes, and they'll do the work for you. If you left multiple queen cells in a brood box, which was full of bees, as you saw, with all those 3 nukes in that brood box, then they would swarm and cast and cast and cast. So you'd reduce the amount of bees in the colony, reduces the chance of bees swarming.
Okay. Will the bees that were in, why is it that the bees in the nuke box won't just return to the original site when you move them?
Well, what's happening is I've put the grass in, and so the bees won't fly immediately. And then when the grass falls out, by the time the grass falls out, hopefully sometime later on tomorrow, the bees will have become accustomed to what's in there. And we've got a lot of nurse bees because we've got brood, and we've got young bees which haven't flown before in there. So the flyers will come back to here, and that's great because we want lots of flyers because we want to keep the honey production going in this colony. But there'll be enough young bees left in the nuke boxes to nurture those queen cells and to then build up the nuke colony.
Okay, and Julian's just wanting clarification about what happens to the extra queen cells. So the bees will kill the extra queen cells, or the emerging queen will.
Well, yeah. Well, the film on that small colony I was filming yesterday, this queen was going around all the queen cells and trying to dig into them and kill the queens within, because she quacks and they quack, or one or the other. She makes a noise. The queen inside the queen cell makes a noise. The workers, which were effectively guarding the queen cells, were headbutting the queen off, so she couldn't get to the queen cell, and they keep the queen cell. So they will decide which queens they want and whether they're going to allow her to kill the other queen cells. Normally what happens is the first queen out comes along and tries and kills all the queen cells. And that's why you see bees on the queen cell. They are vibrating and keeping the queen inside the cell for a period until maybe the other queen goes, or the queen is mature enough to come out and they can fight, or whatever. But they will sort it out. They will sort it out. It's quite common to have multiple queen virgins in a small colony to start off with, and then eventually, I've had it where I've seen a new queen, dead queen, appear at the entrance of the box every day for several days, and they're just basically sorting out what's going on and ending up with the best queen.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Not at the moment. No.
Okay, so I'm going to put this to the side because we're going to use this a little bit in a wee while. So now what we're going to do is just do a classic uniting of colonies. Now, because you can make your mind up, whichever suits the circumstances you're in, or the mood you feel in, whether you put the queen-right colony at the bottom or the queenless colony at the bottom. Because there's lots of bees flying into this colony now, still flying, and we've done some disturbing, I'm going to leave the queenless colony at the bottom. There's more bees in here. This is a smallish nuke, and I'm going to put the queen-right colony above her. What that means is I've got these three supers, which I've got to take care of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, put some newspaper above this bottom brood box, put that brood box on. I've already caged the queen in that bottom brood box, in the small brood box, and I'm going to put that brood box carefully on top of this one, above the paper, shake in any other spare bees which are stuck on the floor, put another sheet of newspaper, and then put the supers above. And so what's going to happen is they will eat through both sets of newspaper and hopefully unite and merge, and there's enough space and fresh foundation, frames of fresh foundation on either side of the nest of that colony for the bees to go up and down without causing too much of an issue. So that's the theory. So let's get some newspaper, some water. Now, normally what I do is say you've got two colonies which are queen right, and you want to unite them to have survive with the best queen. So during the day, what I would normally do just trying to cause the least disturbance possible, is I would go in during the day, and I would capture the queen in the colony which I want to remove, and I would put her into a queen cage with the tab on, and I would leave the queen on the top of the frames. So when I'm coming to do my uniting, I can just come in, take the queen out, and that's least disturbance, because the longer you leave a colony queenless, this is hopelessly queenless because there's no larva, no eggs. So the longer you leave a colony without a queen, so if I went in at midday today, said this is the colony that's going to be queenless, and I went and took the queen out, they would start to make swarm cells. They would start to take action based on the queen there. And normally when you're doing uniting, you do uniting in the evening when the bees are calmer and they're not flying. Today it's a bit warm, so they're flying a bit late. So you don't want to be going in and searching for a queen to remove the queen. So if you go in during the day, put the queen into a cage and just leave her in here, it's just a gentle thing to go and remove the queen just before uniting. So in this case, I am going to just drop these. Just for speed, I'm not going to go through the colony. I know it's queenless. I know it's hopelessly queenless. I'm just going to put the newspaper on. Quite a big colony there. You have to be careful when you're uniting colonies, particularly large colonies, because you have to protect your queen. Because what happens is, particularly if it's an aggressive or a large colony, you will the colony might come down and destroy the queen. I've had it in my early days as a beekeeper. I put a strong colony on a beautiful queen on the bottom, smallish colony. They came straight through the newspaper, killed the queen, and went, now what do I do? And they had to go away and make loads and loads of queen cells. So when you went back to check if it had been sorted, I like to use a lot of water. I also like to have my queen excluder. Should have done this first, this way round. And where it's wet, I go and feel through the queen excluder to where there is a gap with the frame, and I just put some slits.
And Sean, how long can you leave a colony hopelessly queenless before you run the risk of getting laying workers?
You can leave until you have no brood left, no sealed brood. So basically what you do is, as long as you've got sealed brood in a colony, that you're unlikely to have laying workers. I'm not saying it won't happen, because there's always laying workers in every colony, but it's not going to become dominant as laying workers. So, and one of the ways of extending it is by keeping on feeding in frames of brood, or frames of young brood or open brood. I mean, I don't. Go on.
So it's the brood pheromone that sort of suppresses the laying worker instinct.
Yes, there's two things that suppress the laying worker: is the brood pheromone and the queen pheromone. So when you have both, you don't get laying workers. So if you have the absence of one, then the other is is dominant enough to suppress. But as soon as you get no brood, or when the last brood is there, this last remnants, then you're in trouble. So I've dampened this. I've made a few little holes on it. So you gently go on.
Just another question about laying workers. Is there any way back from laying workers once you've got them?
No, not really. So what you can, there's lots of the best thing to do with laying workers is to move away from the hive, put a sheet down, maybe 100 yards away, and shake all the bees onto the sheet. The ones that can be useful, they will fly back, and if you're an apiary like this, they'll find a home. Or you could put a nuke box with a queen right nuke box with a small entrance on the location of the original hive. Because basically, normally when you've got a laying workers, you take everything away and go and shake away, and then let the bees distribute themselves. But if you wanted to, you could put a nuke box on the original site, or a colony on the original site, and those workers will come back and they'll complement. But what you don't, and the pseudo queens, because they have queen pheromone, because the laying workers develop their mandibular glands to have a queen pheromone, they will be rejected by the guard bees at their entrance. So only the bees which are non-laying workers will come in, be allowed back into the colony. So, just speaking nice, quite gently and quiet. One of the problems you have with when you're doing this is quite often the entrance block gets stuck to the bottom of the brood box. What you do is always check that the entrance block is, and maybe during the day before during the day, just lever it off. So this is a lovely colony. What I've done is, let's just check that it's still there. Can't remember which frame I did it on. There we go. So earlier on today, they are. There's fondant in there. The queen is in there. I've just caged her up, ready and protected. So when you're putting a queen in a cage or introducing a queen, always put her next to brood, where they expect to find her, and look, they're just looking after her in there. Just don't want to squash any bees when I'm closing the thing up. There we go. Nice and gentle. Now comes the messy bit. You've got to try and get all the bees in. There's something else we're going to do in a minute, but we'll try and get all the bees in.
How long's the average lifespan of a queen, Sean? Is that a bit of
can
how long
live
the
up to-
piece of string play?
Yeah, you can. She can live up to 5 years, but generally 3 years is what they tolerate them nowadays, maximum. So I had they replaced both my green queens, which that's their 3rd season this year. So some people like to use duck feathers. I like to think this works just as well. Just fingering them nice and gently. Okay, that's done. And this is the queen excluder we had below the top box, in the demery. Water spray, thank you very much. Same procedure as last time. Find out where the gaps are. Put a few slots in.
And do the boxes have to be next to each other for some time before you unite, so that the
Yes. They should really be within 3 feet of each other for at least 24 hours. And so at least they're orientated, so they know what they're going to do. But the ones that haven't orientated, when they come, they will come out. They'll realize they're in a funny location, so they'll orientate and sort themselves out. So let's put this on. Sorry about that.
you've been eating your Weetabix if they're all full.
They're not quite full. This one's okay. That's only about two supers in weight, really, although there's 3 there. There we go. And put the roof on. What I do is I leave it for a couple of few days. You'll know when they've united, because you'll see newspaper appearing at the bottom, very fine newspaper appearing through the floor at the bottom. So you can go in and check how it is, and especially on warm days like now, it'll be very, very quick for them to uniting. And then what I will do, it's probably Saturday, maybe now, I'll go in, and what I see I'm going to most probably rearrange all the frames in here, and the brood nest, and put the other green brood box, put the bees in a double green brood box, and going from there. Last thing I'm going to do, and I like to do, is when I'm uniting, is I take the entrance block out. So I make it as big a space as possible. So for instance, there are some bees, like this bee here, which is not being allowed in. This is a guard bee not allowing a bee in. There's better chance of bees which have been disturbed during the uniting. You can see them, they're being chased around. They can get in, and there's more chance and less fighting. And within the bees, and particularly tonight when it's a nice warm night, the bees are going to survive if they have to stay outside. And by the time that the newspaper will be eaten through by the morning, that queen should be released by the morning, and they should be sorted. That's quite a persistent guard bee. Does anyone have any questions about what I've just done? Under normal circumstances, the two actions of doing the split and putting a new box in is not a normal thing. You do one or the other. It's. I just thought I'd just take advantage of the circumstances of this colony to do it. What time is it?
It's 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. I've got one very quick thing. If you're okay with it, I wanted to show you. Are you okay with that, or do you want to feed me questions while I do it?
There's just one more question: is how long do you leave the queen in the cage?
She's in the cage until they take her out. It was open. There was
All right,
fondant
so
at the bottom.
So when they eat the fondant,
eat her, and she'll be out by tomorrow morning, I think. Very quickly, what I wanted to show you was clearer board. The way I've started using these clearer boards. I buy the discs from Simon the Beekeeper, put tacks on them. It's a rhombus, and this is a standard crown board. And the bees go down through here. They come out, and they can't work it out. It takes them a while because there's holes here which let the smell of the super above come here. So the bees try to go through here, they can't. But eventually, after a few hours, they'll work out they can go back through the holes. So what rhombus does is it clears the bees rapidly. And when you want to clear bees from a super, you want to do it when it's a good flow on and there's a lot of movement of bringing the honey in and out of the super. So if you try to do a clearing on a cold, like tomorrow, when it's going to be wet and all the bees are indoors, the bees are not going to clear. This afternoon, when it's nice and hot and there's forage out there, the bees will clear in hours. So what I was going to just show you was quickly on this one, how I clear. I didn't like that. I have to defend myself. What I find is when you use a clearer board, you've got, this one's a single brood box with 2 supers. So if you are trying to ram down 10 frames of bees from your top frame down into this box, they're going to run out of space. So I always put an eek of some kind. And when you come back after having done the clearing and you look under, you'll find that the bees all congregate underneath in a cluster. So what I'm doing is I'm giving them space. So you've got to bear in mind that if you've got very few supers and you're on a single brood box, 2 supers, and you want to take the top super off, you've got to give them space of where to go to. You can either do that by giving them a 3rd super and then taking them off, so you've got more space, or if you're using a rhombus like this, or even with the porter bee escapes, give them space to go to. And then just put that on top there. Yeah, well, it's late at night. They're watching Sewing Bee. Well, I will be. So I do that during the day. One, there's fewer bees anyway because they're out foraging, and two, you're making space for them to go down to when you're clearing frames. That's all I want. I had more to show you, but that's all I'm going to show you tonight. Anyway, anyone got any questions?
Nothing coming through at the moment yet, Sean.
Okay.
Okay, I think if there are no more questions, then we can say thank you to Sean. Oh, yep, it's just saying thank you. People saying thank you. So really useful information again, Sean, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Right. And I might be seeing you next month. I don't know. Okay.
Yes, I think
See you later.
if that's okay, we'll do another live one next month, given the lockdown extension.
All right. Okay. Right. Thank you very much indeed for coming along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a message,
Right.
Sean, that I hope you understand it. It just says, thank you so much for sharing in such an interesting and engaging way. Hope RAF does all right for you.
Hope.
I don't know, RAF, R-A-P-H.
All right. Rap is all right to me.
Mm.
All right. I don't understand that one. Okay, that's fine. Do we have many people turn up tonight?
I think we got up to 55.
Okay, that's okay. On a football night, fine. That's good. Thank you very much indeed, Helen. That was okay, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've done quite a lot tonight.
Maybe I can ask you a question. We've got a drone laying queen. She should have mated when it was really cold. But she's so small that she's up in the supers laying, and I just can't find her. We've been through, taken every frame out and put it in a new box, and I just cannot find her. Shall I just shake them out as the laying worker? Because you keep going through it, and they're getting less and less.
Yes, we did this. We on the practical beekeeping course. We did this the other day. We put a new queen in a cage on the stand with a nuke, and we just threw them all out in front, and they ran up the door. They had the entrance open, and they ran in, and it was fine. And it seemed to work because the queen was in the cage, and the bees are not happy with the drone layer anyway, so they won't accept her. Yeah,
because I've given them 2 frames of eggs from queen right colonies, and they've ignored them. So it's I think it's time to chuck them all out.
I would chuck them out. Yeah. Yes.
And apparently Rafe is a finalist on the Sewing Bee.
All right, Rafe, of course. Rafe, R-A-F. Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Oh, I know. I'm Serena. I'm angling for Serena. All right.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Sheila, thank you much. Cheers.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.